Have you ever taken a photo that looked amazing on your camera but flat and washed out on your computer? Or maybe you tried editing a picture and it just fell apart. That's not your fault, it could be your file type. Today we're diving into a battle that every photographer faces, RAW versus JPEG. What's the real difference, why does it matter, and which one you should be using? We'll cover file size, flexibility in editing, color depth, detail retention, and the nuances that impact your workflow. This one decision can make or break your photos. Let's talk about it. Now let's start with the basics. When your camera captures an image, it collects data from the sensor. A RAW file is that data unprocessed, untouched, and uncompressed. It contains everything the sensor saw. A RAW file is like bringing home all the ingredients from the grocery store, untouched. You've got everything, the full apple, the whole bag of flour, the raw chicken, it's all there. You still need to cook and season it yourself, but you get complete control over the final dish. A JPEG, on the other hand, is a process file. The camera decides on things like contrast, sharpening, saturation, and white balance, then compresses the file to save space. It's more ready to use, but much of that sensor data is discarded in the process. A JPEG is like buying a pre-cooked meal. The camera decides on how much salt to add, how much pepper to add, how long to cook it, and what it should look like. It's faster and easier, just heat it up and serve. But if you don't like the flavor, there's not much you can do to change it afterwards. And because RAW files gives you all this information your camera saw, every shadow, every highlight, every subtle color, that means you could fix things like exposure and white balance later without hurting the quality. But RAW files are big, like a fridge full of ingredients, and they take more time in software to cook. JPEGs are smaller because your camera throws out a lot of the extra data. It makes decisions for you to save space, and that's convenient, but it means you're stuck with what it gives you. A RAW file can be really big, anywhere from 20 megabytes to 100 megabytes per photo, depending on your camera. Now, that's like saving a full HD movie file every time you take a picture. Now, compare that to a JPEG, which is usually 3 to 12 megabytes depending on your camera once again. That's more like downloading a short music file or a quick video clip. The difference adds up fast. But why are RAW files so much bigger? Think of it like this. A RAW file has nothing thrown out. They keep everything your camera sees. Details in the shadows, textures in the highlights, subtle color changes, nothing is thrown away. In contrast, JPEGs use what's called lossy compression. That means your camera throws out details it thinks you won't notice. Kind of like cleaning out your room by tossing out all the things that you think that you don't need. It makes the file smaller, but you lose some flexibility in post. So while RAW gives you more power when editing later, it comes with a cost. More memory usage. If you're shooting RAW, your memory cards will fill up faster and you'll need more storage space on your computer or hard drives. It's a trade-off between speed and simplicity versus control and quality. When you take a photo, your camera records color, but not all file types record color the same way. RAW files record images using 12-bit or 14-bit color, which means they can capture billions of different color variations, like having a box of crayons with every shade imaginable. JPEGs, on the other hand, only use approximately 8-bit color, which equals about 16.7 million colors. That still sounds like a lot, right? But when you start editing, that difference becomes obvious. Let's say you're editing a photo of a sunset. With a RAW file, the transitions from deep orange to soft pink to light blue in the sky is smooth, like a perfect paint gradient. But with JPEG, those colors are limited and they create this banding-like effect, which are harsh lines or sudden shifts between colors, kind of like stripes instead of a smooth blend. It's like coloring with a small crayon set. You're missing the in-between shade and the results can look quite choppy. So once again, this also affects your gradients, especially in the skies, shadows, or skin tones. RAW files give you enough information to adjust and still keep those transitions looking natural. JPEGs often don't have enough detail left in the images to make those edits without falling apart. And then there's dynamic range. That's how well a photo handles the darkest shades and the brightest highlights. RAW files have more dynamic range, meaning you could bring back details in a blown out sky or brighten up a shadowy face without ruining the image. JPEGs, on the other hand, once that detail is lost, like a sky, that just remains pure white. You really can't get it back. It's like overcooking food. Once it's burnt, you can't unburn it. So if you like editing or want to get the most out of every photo, RAW gives you that extra cushion and flexibility to push your image further. JPEG might be good enough for straight out of camera, but you have to live with the choices your camera already made. And this is where RAW truly shines, especially when you want to edit your photos after the fact. When you shoot in RAW, your camera records all the original sensor data, including color temperature, contrast, and exposure, before it makes any permanent decisions. That means you can go into an editing software like Lightroom and change the white balance, the color temperature of your photo without damaging the image quality. Why? Because you're adjusting it using the raw sensor data, not manipulating a baked-in color image. It's like changing the recipe before you cook the meal, rather than trying to fix it after it's been overcooked. Once again, RAW gives you latitude. You could lift shadows, recover highlights, and even correct for slight over or under exposures, because all that tonal data is still there. You're not stretching or guessing at what the photo looked like. You're just uncovering what was already captured. JPEGs, on the other hand, are much less flexible. When your photo is saved, your camera applies edits internally, like sharpening, white balance, noise reduction, and contrast, and then compresses that image by permanently throwing out the other data. So if you try pushing the shadows or recovering highlights, you'll often see compression artifacts. Also, JPEGs bake in white balance. So if you're trying to change it too much afterwards, it often results in unwanted color cast, like a sickly green or magenta tint. In short, RAW gives you more room to work with and higher image integrity when editing, while JPEG gives you speed and convenience, but with less flexibility and a higher risk of quality loss when pushed way too far. This is where we start getting into the real world decision making, because the choice between RAW and JPEG isn't just about quality, it's about context. When you're doing professional work like shooting portraits, weddings, product photography, or actually anything with a client, RAW is almost always the best option. Why? Because in these environments, you often can't afford mistakes. You might have unpredictable lighting, fast changing conditions, or skin tones that need precise editing. RAW files gives you the maximum control and flexibility in post-production. If you underexpose a shot, or shoot in bad lighting, or just need to tweak subtle tones, RAW files allow you to do that without damaging the image quality. From a technical standpoint, this is due to RAW's high bit depth and non-destructing editing capabilities and extended dynamic range. It means you can make significant adjustments without introducing banding, color shifts, or excessive noise. Now on the flip side, if you're shooting casually, say you're at a family barbecue, traveling, or just snapping shots for social media, JPEGs might be totally fine. Because JPEGs are smaller, they write to the memory card faster, and they're instantly shareable. They're already processed in camera, meaning contrast, saturation, and sharpness are baked in. Now that's great if you want something that looks good straight out of the camera and you don't plan on doing any heavy editing. The trade-off, of course, is less flexibility. You lose access to that sensor data that might have helped correct any mistakes or fine-tune the image later. However, this might be an option that you might choose to go with. Some photographers actually shoot in RAW plus JPEG mode, which captures both versions simultaneously. Now, this gives you the best of both worlds. With a JPEG, you could preview, email, or post right away, and the RAW file you could edit for later for high quality output. It's especially useful in fast-paced environments like events or journalism, where turnaround time actually matters, but quality is still important. But for sure, you have to worry about the memory card being taken up at an even quicker rate. So it's not always about choosing one or the other. It's about knowing what you need from your image later and choosing the format that gives you the best balance between speed, storage, and control. Understand the trade-offs. If you're learning and want to grow as a photographer, start shooting RAW. It teaches you how to control light, color, and tone. If you're in a rush or your shoot doesn't demand perfection, JPEG might be a perfectly valid choice. I always shoot in RAW, no matter what. So which one are you using and why? Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you want to see a side-by-side edit comparison in a future video, definitely let me know. And if you made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you for watching, and click over here for some videos that YouTube thinks that you'll enjoy. And as always, treat yourself with love and respect. And until next time, peace.